Hey there folks, it's me Malorian and it's time for another Warcaster review. Now in this one, we're going to be talking about Stryker1. And from this, I'm going to be telling you what Stryker1 has on the card, what are some of the tips and tricks along the way, and then at the end, we're going to be talking about some of the general lists you might want to be putting Stryker1 into. So let's just jump right into it. So Stryker1, who is Commander Coleman Stryker, is a Cygnar Morrowind caster. He's Focus 6, Speed 6, Strength 6, Mat 7, not that usually comes up, but sometimes, Rat 6, Defense 16, Armor 15, so a little bit above the curve, and then also Command 9, which doesn't usually come up. Now he has 2 weapons, and 17 hitboxes. I might as well say this, 30 Warjack points as well. Now he has 2 weapons, and there's nothing really super fancy with them. When you go to the special rules of Stryker, there's just nothing there. However, he does have the 2 weapons. The first one is Quicksilver. It's a range 1, P plus S 13 magical weapon, but also disruption. So there's the rare time you want him to get in combat and disruption some things, or maybe he has to get some work done, but he's not really a combat master, so he usually doesn't want to be doing that. But hey, you know, sometimes it's worth it to get that disruption out there. Now, while we're talking about that, his other weapon, though, is a lot more reliable. So he also has a disruption pistol, which is a range 10, POW 10, and then it's magical and disruption, not crit disruption, just if you hit that thing, it's disrupted. So I think it's a lot of time very easy to be keeping Stryker in the back and not doing anything, but I think at the very least you should be thinking about getting active with that pistol, because a lot of times, to be fair, warcasters and warlocks have guns that, you know, when they're support casters, like, oh no, you just hide over here. Sometimes, especially when they have disruption straight on the thing, it's worth getting up there to try and use it. Now, he's only Rat 6, but even then, you know, if you're just getting there to try one shot, you have a lot of stuff in the way, why not? So anyway, let's start there. As I mentioned, no special rules, it's just blank when you're looking there. But then he has quite a few spells, 2 kind of useless, and then 4 really good. So the first spell, which is the most useless, is Arcane Blast. Now with this one here, it is a cost 3, range 10, AoE 4, so I mean, maybe you gotta shoot this off into a bunch of infantry. POW 13, and what this is just that. There's nothing else special to it. It's just an expensive nuke that you're hoping to do some damage with. Arcane Bolt's the next one. It is a range 2, POW 12, range 12, POW 11, and again, no other special thing with it. So I mean, sometimes you need to try and get some extra damage done. You know, maybe you're trying to desperately clear a zone, so you're like, "Pew, I'm going to shoot you with this." But I mean, like, he's no Veil 2. He's no real magical assassination caster. Usually his focus is going to other things. But hey, you know, it's good to know it's on the card, because there might be some time you need it. Alright, now he has 4 very relevant spells that come up all the time. So the very first one is Arcane Shield. There's not a lot of casters that have Arcane Shield, but he's like the original. So the first thing on here is that it's cost 2, it's a range 6, it's an upkeep, and what it is, this target friendly faction model or unit gets plus 3 armor. And I mean, some of the feats out there are plus 3 armor, so having this as a spell to put wherever you need it is massive. And we'll talk a little about this with like the list in the end, but I mean, this just pushes your armor to 11. And don't worry, we'll get to his feat later for those who are screaming at the screen. But I mean, the fact that you can be taking something that's already high armor, something like a Centurion, or just really any jack whatsoever, and you add 3 more armor, that's a big armor swing, right? If you can think of how much of a big deal it is to get Ragman in, so you're getting 2 extra damage, well, when you have Arcane Shield that's removing 3 every single time, it is really, really relevant. His other one is Blur. It is a range 2, keep on mixing these up. A cost 2, range 6. I mean, it's right in front of me. How am I messing this up? Another upkeep. All of these are going to be upkeeps right now for the most part. But what it is target friendly faction model unit gets plus 3 defense against range and magic attack rolls. Now, for myself, I find a lot of times this is really good to be putting on Stryker himself. This way, he turns himself into a 16-18. You find some cover somewhere, you know, all of a sudden, if you want to try and shoot me with magic, all right, I'm like, defense 22 or whatever, right? So sorry, he'd be a defense 19, armor 15, going up from there. It's early in the morning. Give me some breaks here. But, I mean, it not only goes on him, it can also go on the units as well. You know, if you have a regular defense 13 unit, the fact that it's going up to 16 probably means it's getting in. I mean, when you think about things where normally you might want to be putting on stealth or something like that on a unit so that it's ignoring guns and being able to get in there, well, it's sometimes even more effective just to have really high defense in it. I mean, again, you could be seeing terrain pumping this even higher. So, I mean, another one I've used it on is things like, you know, Tempest Blazers, what have you. Sometimes even on jacks, you know, if you have a jack that's, oh, okay, it's defense 10, it's Signar, so wait, defense 12, going up to defense 15, all of a sudden guns are missing your jacks when they're trying to get in. So it's a very big deal to have this spell as well. Then he has Snipe. So Snipe is another cost 2, range 6, upkeep. And this one here is going to be target friendly faction, model or units, range weapons, get +4 range. So again, a very huge deal. I've seen some people put this on Stryker himself, so then he can be really safe shooting out that Disruptor pistol out at 14 inches. That really makes it so you can shoot those jacks downtown and be really far away. But a lot of times it's going on something else, right? Whatever big shooty jack you have, or even a unit, right? Even something like gun mages that have Snipe normally, well, now no, you can use Snipe from Stryker and now be doing brutal damage for your rune shot instead. Or maybe you're doing it on long gunners so that they're shooting things 18 inches away twice. So yeah, it's a very big deal and a very important spell to have here on the card. Next one here is Earthquake, and this one really catches people off guard. So this one is a cost 3, range 10, AoE 5, and models hit by Earthquake become knocked down. It doesn't say directly hit, it doesn't say any of those triggers, it is just if you are hit with this template, you are knocked down. And this is an AoE 5, this is a big knockdown. So whether you're just like throwing this out there and being like, even if it scatters, it's probably going to get you. Even if it's a thing where I'm going to run a model to you, hit my own model and knock you down, shoot a pod there from your storm wall and knocking a group of things down that you need done. It's a really important spell, and it can all of a sudden make it so an assassination is like guaranteed. So he has a lot of great spells. Probably the biggest negative to him is that he's only focus 6. So there's only so much of this that he can do, but there are so many different things here in the card, which allows him to go into so many different armies. But before we get too far with that, let's talk about the last thing, which is the feat. The feat is very simple, very short, extremely powerful. So this is what it says. While in Stryker's control range, friendly faction models gain +5 armor. So we know we talked about how like +3 armor is a really big deal, and that's some people's feats. Well, he has that as a spell, and his feat is +5 for everybody. And so that means one of your models is going to be +8 armor. Like, that's ridiculous. When people try attacking a Colossal, and they're like, okay, if I dedicate everything, maybe I can take it down. And then you tell them it's armor 27. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. So it is an extremely powerful feat, and it's one of those things where I realize, because actually that's one of the main casters I'm playing now, that sure, it's nice to be playing something like Magnus, where I can say, you can't move, or some other sort of denial feat like that, but one of the easiest ones that you just can't ignore is +5 armor. I mean, against Magnus 2, you can stay out of the range, charge in, you can stay out and shoot in, or just be in range and shoot in. You can be, if you're up against McBain's denial, saying, these are super tough, you can't kill them. No, I have Grievous, they're all dead. It's really hard to get past the +5 armor. Even if you have Blessed, so you're ignoring the +3 armor, there's nothing out there that ignores feats. And again, we can talk about something like the Centurion, which I talked about pushing to 11 with the spell. I mean, now there's like a 12 on the dial, or a 13. That is just good luck. That Centurion's not going to die. But it gets to a point where that's overkill. It gets to a point where you don't need to be having that insane of armor. You know, let's say, for example, instead, we're talking you're a light jack. That's normally a 15, 16. Well, now that light check is a 1521. So good luck. You have to really be dedicating something serious just to do some normal damage to a light. And then even infantry. Infantry that's normal, let's say very boring, very low, armor 13 infantry. Armor 18 now means that it's shrugging off all the regular attacks. You know, if you want to be shooting off like POW 10s at me, go ahead. The vast majority of them won't be doing any damage. And that's your low armor. If you take something that's in shield wall, and it's like an armor 18, well, now we're going up with that to be going up to armor 23. And now really, it's a really big deal. Now maybe POW 10s are charging in and they're not killing you. So it's really, really, really potent, really powerful. And of course, the more you apply that to something that's higher armor, the bigger effect it's going to be. But, you know, sometimes it's even large effect, even on the small stuff. So really interesting caster. I will say he's actually very boring to play sometimes because he doesn't do anything for the most part. He usually puts out his upkeeps, stands in the back, and that's it. Just lets the force fight, you know, applies his feet when he needs to, and then otherwise he just sits there in some terrain piece. If there's a perfect wall or a bunker, you know, when it comes to him, he'd be like, is there something in 10? No? Okay. If there is, continue on. And that's all he really does. So I will be honest that he is boring to play. He's not jumping around the board doing cool things. He's not a, you know, Butcher 3 getting in there and killing 3 heavies at once. He's staying in the back and just applying his army and just making sure his army is effective as possible. And really, when you're looking what he has there, I mean, obviously the armor skew is a huge deal right here, but he has those other tricks as well. He has the snipe to really make a very potent range list. With Earthquake, that means he can do a very effective assassination list. I mean, all of a sudden, if you have an arc node here, you can very easily always knock down whatever you need to have knocked down, and then pew, 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 that thing's dead just by shooting it. And of course, also the defense skew by having that blur on him as well. So very, very powerful. And again, probably one of the things that holds him back is the fact that he's only focus 6. So with that, what type of armies do you want to be building around him? Well, the big thing is that you can almost go any way you want. Usually what you'll see is people really go deep into that armor. They'll be taking lists that are almost all jacks and doing that. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm running 3 Colossals with him, and then on my feet turn, it's like, go ahead. I dare you. Try and kill them. You're probably not going to. But otherwise, you can always mix those things up. Like, you really don't want to be ignoring his other spell list. So even if when you go in the jacks there, there's something else there that you can be putting snipe on if you want. You know, there's something relevant that can be using snipe. There's something relevant that can be using blur. And then, you know, sometimes that's just himself, like I said, but you don't want to be forgetting these things as you're going through. Another good example is in my list, I have, you know, my Stormwall, which is a higher armor or higher defense model. I might really want you, depending on what shooting's coming in, be going in there and actually saying, yeah, I'm going to be putting blur on that model. So that's now, like I said, defense 13, which is actually pretty relevant for a Colossal when shooting's coming in, and then I'll help protect it. Arcane Shield on another one. All right, off you go. So you really want to think about those things, but you can be doing other stuff as well. I've been seeing Cavalry lists with him, right? Especially now that Storm Lances have Unyielding as well. You can put Arcane Shield on them, you're popping your feet, and they're just getting in there. And so that's when those things are normally, you know, like Cavalry, they have to pick their times, they're going to charge in and then they're going to die. Now they don't. They just go in there, they do tons of damage, and then they're going to stay there. And that can almost be a jam, right? You're charging in long ways with Storm Lances, repoing even farther in, and then anything else you need to be following up with can be there. That's also why you're seeing him doing a lot with actual just warrior models, right? You can be taking him with all the Precursor Knights and the Legion of Lost Souls, and I mean, whether you're in Shield Wall or not, that bump's going to keep them alive, and especially when they're in Shield Wall, yeah, they're going to be doing it. And at the same time, you might want to go with the guns, right? You might want to have those trencher long gunners. Like, you can run them as a trencher caster, right? You can have him in there and say, all right, here's all my guns. I have snipe I can be passing around. I'm going to shoot you up and attrition you from far away. And if you just blink once and make that mistake, boom, I'm going to knock you down. game's done. So very, very versatile caster. I thought it was very good when he used to be the starter box caster, because it's a great spot to go from, right? Any new player can really take Stryker1 and really go almost any direction that they want to go. The new one, Beth Maddox, you know, she's okay, but she's very designed in a singular way. So, you know, it's interesting to see the starter boxes change over time. But if you're a new player, I would say one of the main ones you should look at is Stryker1, because new players, a lot of times, they walk into threat ranges not understanding it. They get their casters killed. And the best way to stop that is with a feat like this. You can purposely just run into their threat ranges, pop feet, and not even really care. So there you have it. There's Stryker1. If I missed anything, please post it down below. You know, you can always share these ideas the way that you're playing Stryker1. But there you have it. So we're going to keep on going with this series. We're going to keep on covering different casters. I'm going to be starting off with the Mercenary and the Signar ones, and then going out from there. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later. Bye.